I'd like to welcome everybody to the November.
Recording in progress.
I'd like to welcome everybody to the November 13, 2025 Public Works Committee meeting. Could we have a roll call, please?
Here.
Alderwoman Gold,
Here.
Alderman Erger,
Here.
and Alderman Lockmill.
Here. Move on to approval of the agenda. If there aren't any changes, any objection to approving by acclamation? Seeing none, it will be so. Moving on down to citizen comment. Anybody in the audience like to make a comment?
I don't have anyone online.
No one online? Okay, well, we'll have another chance later. Move on to reports of from committee chair and alderman. I have no report. Alderwoman Tice.
I just have one thank you to Dan and your team. The new trash cans at high school in Litzinger and then on, I guess that's Moritz and high school look really nice and they're consistent with the other ones. So it's really nice along that stretch where the schools are to have nicer looking trash cans. So thank you.
Alderwoman Golden.
No report.
Alderman Egger.
No report.
Move on to department commission reports, starting with Parks and Rec. We'll move on to Eric.
Evening. I have a few things for Parks and Recreation. The first is Mount Calvary. We met with SWT, who's doing the design for Mount Calvary Park, and they kind of went us through site analysis, drainage analysis, those type of fun things. And so we kind of gave them some feedback, and they're going to they're going to refine that that vision, which is basically what is in the master plan. We've already kind of done that work, so they're going to be looking at that a little bit more, and then we're going to have a stakeholder engagement workshop before the next Public Works Committee meeting here in this room. Makes it easy, so that way we don't have to go from one place to the other. What we're going to do is we'll start advertising that on our normal social media channels next week, and we're also developing a postcard for the neighbors right around the church, right around the park. So I think Parkside, White from McKnight all the way to St. Clair, Park Ridge, Park Ridge all the way to St. Clair. So that basically anything that kind of circles that park is what we'll be sending that directly to. So hopefully people have it in a couple other ways or notice it, get that update in a few ways. But we're looking forward to that. Second is our municipal park grant. We did receive notification that we did receive the $410,000 grant for the Hanley Park Comfort Station and Parking Lot Expansion Project. So that's excellent news. We needed that funding to be able to afford to do the complete project, so we're excited about that. The bad news, we're talking to SWT. Design was done in 2022 and everything was good then, but because it's multiple years later, we have to resubmit that design to MSD. MSD, who didn't have comments last time, has comments this time, and specifically, they want that pavilion or everything to move 2 feet above base flood elevation. And if we really have to do that, that's going to include more design because you have to bring in more fill, and then you can't bring more fill into the floodway, so you have to figure out where you're going to take it from to move it so it's all net neutral. So we'll have to kind of go back to the Army Corps of Engineer, to our floodplain developer. So it's going to be a chore. And so if we do that, it's going to be an additional 4 months probably of design, which means our hope was to get it done before kind of that sports season in Hanley Park, and most likely we'll be doing it right during the middle of that sports season. But it is what it is. We're going to have to do that. So that's kind of where we're going to be with that. Next is we got a request from the school district PTO. The PTO is real active right now, which is wonderful. And they have a lot of really kind of interesting ideas. And one is the PTO from both McGrath and McKnight really want to do something together, a project together that helps beautify the city, which is wonderful. And their idea is of a rainbow bridge. And if you think about the rainbow bridge it's an old poem. I didn't know it was by Edna Clark Recky until I looked it up. But it's basically what happens, what you tell your kids when your pets die. They cross the rainbow bridge, and that's where they go. And so they want to kind of build one of these things in one of our parks. Where would we do it? I don't know yet. I haven't really thought about that. Still getting over that concept of the bridge. I kind of put together, hopefully, a couple links in my report that you guys saw, a news release of one they did in, I think, Maryland. and kind of that press release from that same one. It's an interesting concept. I don't know how I feel about it quite yet, but it would help if I know what you guys feel. If it's something that the committee really wants us to do, we'll find a space for it. And ultimately, the idea is that they want to design it. We'd have the final say in design. They want to then build it, and we'd have to kind of have staff there to make sure it was built properly, and then ultimately we'd have to take it over. And if you're talking a wood bridge, you're probably talking, all that sort of stuff about replacement. So that would have an ongoing cost to the city. It's just, it's an interesting concept. I had not talked to them. Is there other things we could do? Could we look at our master plan and say, hey, this might be more in line with what we already approved on the master plan? But again, it was a request, and I know we are good partners with the school district, so I brought it forward.
I have a few. How big is this bridge? Is this a little like, is it a weight-bearing bridge?
No, I mean, you
what
wouldn't
size
put it
bridge are we
over,
going?
yeah, you wouldn't put it over a creek. It'd basically be almost, if you think probably 6 feet wide, 4 to 6 feet long. I mean, it is more symbolic than useful.
Okay.
If you looked at any of that stuff, a lot of what it is, you paint everything the rainbow color, so it looks like the rainbow bridge that the pets pass. And then that one community in Maryland, they actually allow owners to put out or to put their collars of the pets that they lost onto the bridge. So it is a way to kind of also give that some an honor to your pet that way. Interesting. I have not looked into a whole lot of, how long do you leave them on there? Is, what happens if, once they degrade, which they will, or do you just say, hey, for 6 months, you can leave it on there and then we'll replace it at 6 months? I don't know. There are some questions, but I wanted to kind of get the feeling of the committee before I dove too far into this project.
Finish, Michelle.
Oh, I had another question as well. How would we decide like which dogs get on? Because I think of the dog park, most of the dogs are Brentwood dogs, but they're not all Brentwood dogs. Not all the dog park owners have kids in the schools, so they wouldn't do that. How do you decide which dog gets added, which dog doesn't get added, how long the dogs get to stay on the list?
I think that's the thing, is how long do you put them on is one thing. And I think you have to have a policy, hey, 3 months, 6 months, a year, whatever it is, we'd have to kind of look at that a little bit. We do a little bit more research. Secondarily, who can do it? I mean, ultimately, it's people are coming out and doing it on their own. You're not putting it in a closed
It's not like
facility.
plaques or you get your dog's name
No.
painted on it.
It's basically you take a collar that was on your dog or cat, and you just hook it up to the bridge, and then it kind of is a tribute for them, for that pet, for extended period of time.
So I'm going to quickly jump to the Mount Calvary. I
sorry.
saw that in
Should've
this.
stopped.
Oh, no, it was fine. I saw it in the agenda, and we had a ward meeting Tuesday. I brought it up there, and then there was a St. Clair function tonight. Somebody even asked me about the park, so I think I'll keep spreading the word, but I'm hoping that there will be good attendance because people are really interested about that site.
The other thing I failed to mention is we'll also communicate to the church too, because I
Good,
think
okay.
they obviously have some interest in that too, and so whether it's the pastor or some of the people from the parish, I'm sure will come too.
Right, okay. But then on this, so the idea is nice. I think my first reaction was we don't want to create a place where people think that they can come and spread their pets' ashes, because there probably some issue. That was my first reaction. So it was, the video was pretty clear that people could bring their collar. So I guess I don't dislike the idea, but I think it would need to be in the right place. It would need, there's maintenance, because sometimes projects that students do don't always keep up. And then, so I guess I'm sort of, I like the idea if you think it's something that would be sustainable for the Parks Department. And if not, if there is something else in the Parks Master Plan that is something that's already planned that might spark an interest with the students.
I think the other thing too is one of the things we've talked about, it's technically not in the master plan, but something we've talked about internally for a long time, but it comes down to funding and other things, is the idea of a story walk. And while it's not so much building those things, but maybe they can help fundraise with us for those, and they can help us install them, and then they can help us pick the books that go in and out of them. That could be another option if we wanted to go a different route.
Well, you've been talking about that for a while, and the fact, if they could have input on the books as they change out, that seems like it's something that the Parks Department would do. There would be ongoing input from the school that would be long-term as opposed to just a one-time project. So that actually might be a really nice alternative suggestion to see if they're interested.
Who would, Nancy kind of hit on it, but going forward, years from now, who maintains the thing and rebuilds it? And
Again, haven't done the full research, but the assumption I have is it's much like any other sort of project that volunteers come and do. You think like Boy Scouts, Eagle Scout projects. You even think maybe like the GRG model, which is, hey, we'll build it for you, we'll turn it over to you, but then it's your responsibility to maintain for perpetuity.
My other initial thought too is just on location. I would not put it by the current dog park, because then it's like, well, what about cats and what about guinea pigs? Like, if you want to make it more inclusive, also just, I've heard from some people who are less pet forward, who are like, well, we do this for dogs. What about for humans? How are we honoring, you know, I'm not opposed to it. I need more understanding, but just like, how do you truly make it, you know, for a wider audience in an ongoing maintenance way? And then I just think looking at it at the dog park every day would be really sad and depressing.
some other alternatives that maybe you could throw back
Yeah, I
at?
think if you guys are okay with this path, I think maybe the idea is going back to them and say, hey, let's look at our master plan. Let's see if there's other things, and maybe see if they're interested in doing some other project. Add some additional options for them and see if they can take that back, and then I can bring it back and we'll see, kind of go from there. But I think it's a good start of a conversation. I don't think I'm ready to say, yes, this is what we're gonna do. And so I'll continue that conversation with them. I'll set up a meeting and we'll try to sit down and say, hey, it's a great idea, but how do we make it more inclusive? Or, you know, are there the other side, some of these other ideas that might be more in line with our park master plan, and see where we go from there.
Plan, Eric?
Great. Okay, and then parking. Sorry, I got lost where I was for a second. So at a former meeting, there was a question about that north parking lot, and so and what to do with that north parking lot, the temporary parking lot. And so I did want to kind of bring up usage of that park and that parking lot. So we've talked about it a lot before, that we've about 300,000 visitors per year. If you really look at the park season, which is April 1 through October 31st, we average 845 visitors per day. That's a lot. 50 days exceeding 1,000 visitors, which is great. Puts a lot of stress on a parking lot that has 62 spaces. And so to be able to have some other locations, and what I think you're starting to find is people who are around this area know to stay away from the main parking lot and park in the north or south lot, because it's a quick walk over and things like that. We also use it a lot during special events. So the Easter egg hunt that we have, both lots were completely full. When we do things like the wine and whiskey walk, summer concert series, you see both those lots fill up because we just don't have the capacity at the main parking lot. And then you add the number of pavilion rentals we're having, which is 223, 90 at the event pavilion, which can hold up to 80 people, and then 143 at the two playgrounds, or at the one playground pavilion, which is about 40 people. Again, you start to see where we need parking in that park. We're all excited about that, hopefully the surface parking lot that will come with redevelopment one day. But until then, it'd be my recommendation that we keep that north parking lot. I understand there's some concerns and there's some different ideas. And unless it is that we need to remove it, I think the next step would be talking to Dan and really kind of talking about what different options can be to really focus on water runoff more than anything else, and then working on different things about dust. Dan has a couple ideas on dust. He's a lot smarter than I am on those things. So we could kind of look at those things and bring that back next month if that's the route we want to go. If we want to remove it, that is a whole nother conversation. So I just want to provide the data more than anything else.
Pretty convinced that the south fills up and then there is overflow that you still need
I do.
several events throughout the year.
I do, and we show, I mean, you kind of see, I kind of put that one graph in, and you'll see that we'll have 80 to 100 visits on a week. I won't say it's packed all the time, because it's not. There are weeks, as you can tell, there are weeks where there's no one parking there. But we do get people there, and it is a viable and important spot to that park currently. You know, if 5 years from now, shoot, I shouldn't say that. If a year from now, we see usage drop a lot in that park. I hope that doesn't happen. We continue to look for ways to improve usage of that park. But if we see usage diminish and we just see that north parking lot get fewer and fewer use, maybe we can kind of come back and say, hey, we're noticing now that we're not using that north lot as much as we have in the past. And we're happy to kind of, whether it's a regular basis or semi-regular, kind of let you know what's going on with that parking in that lot. The good news is we have it on Placer, so we get that data pretty quickly.
Well, you know, we had the one resident come in and complain about the dust and the runoff. I mean, I'd like to see some type of plan that how we better maintain that lot specifically, as far if Dan's got some ideas how to reduce dust, try to address the runoff, because it is leaving residue and mud residue on his parking lot.
Yes, and I think we've already started those conversations. We didn't want to go too far if the committee really wanted us to really think about removing that lot. We can definitely bring that back next month and have that conversation of different options and ideas that we've come up with and things that we can do internally if we need to bring someone in to help us. But those are the type of things that we're looking at right now.
Yeah, I would agree with that, with what Alderman Lockmuller just said. I think it's a valid concern. It's not something we would allow a resident to have, so I think we need to do what we ask residents to do and keep runoff from going into other places and keep the dust down.
We agree. All right, we'll bring this back next month. Dan and I will have some fun with it. Moving on to sustainability.
Yeah, let's go ahead, unless there's any other questions for Eric on parks. All right, yeah, let's move into sustainability.
All right, so a quick update. We had heard from both our representatives from SoulSmart and Charging Smart that those programs have been canceled by the Department of Energy. It's unfortunate. You know, the Charging Smart had just started. SoulSmart had been going for a couple of years. Not saying it won't ever come back. You know, if you think maybe way tides turn, that maybe we'll see that come back in the future. And the representative said if it does get refunded, we'll be in touch with organizations to kind of kick it back up. Good news is we are working on getting, you know, we're trying to get to gold. But to do that, we're finishing up one thing that we had to do that the board approved at the last meeting, and that got us to silver. And SoulSmart basically said, great, we trust that you guys are going to pass this, which we did, and they already sent us a plaque. So we at least got our silver designation before the end of the program, but that's kind of where we're at right now. And as we kind of talked about this in the Sustainability Commission, just because the program's not there, we have the data, we have all the things they suggest to be better with both solar power and charging. So it doesn't mean we can't continue the program on our own. And so we'll look at those type of things as we move forward. One of the other things the Sustainability Commission talked about was the use of plastic netting in erosion control and vegetation establishment mats. Think if you got like those straw mats that you kind of roll out and all that plastic's on there. And so we had a long conversation at the commission, and we also talked to staff a lot. And good or bad, a lot of these things with the plastic net are sold as green products. And they're green products because they are photodegradable, which means that basically they sit out in the sun long enough, they will degrade, and but they'll kind of grade into microplastics that everyone's kind of talking about these days. And so, not great. What the commission wants us to do is find things that are fully biodegradable, so it degrades completely and does no damage to the earth. And I think what they wanted the city to do is two things. One is stuff, and primarily it's going to be Dan and me, but primarily is when we use stuff, if we use erosion control, if we use vegetation matting, that we get products that are fully biodegradable. That is, I think it's easy to do. We're still researching different products. I will say it will come with a cost because that will be more expensive, and because it's going to be harder to make, and that's why plastic is so cheap. Secondarily, they wanted to see if there's something we could do as far as looking at a green spec that we can put into our bid documents. So as we, next bid that goes out, the Hanley Park Comfort Station and parking lot, probably won't be ready for that. But if we could develop a green spec that say, hey, when you do this or this, we expect it to be fully degradable, fully biodegradable, and not just degradable. Ironically, I talked to SWT, like, that's interesting. We don't have one, and that's one, I think, that a spec that could probably be built for people and for organizations who want to be green. So it's somewhat new. I mean, not new, but it's a new concept for a company like SWT to not have it in their arsenal of things that they have. So they're kind of looking at that too. So they said they'd kind of help us kind of walk through that if that's what we want to do. Again, putting that in the spec sheets doesn't change a whole lot, but it will increase cost minimally. I mean, it's not going to cause us to not be able to fund a project. But you think at Brentwood Bound, the core mat, heavy, thick rope, that is biodegradable. That will degrade completely. And it's using those type of products instead of using just that fine plastic to kind of keep things down. So we're happy to continue to look into that. Just wanted to make sure, as I told them, that this is something that the Public Works Committee will want to hear and will want to kind of have a voice on and make sure that that's something they want staff to move forward with.
So is this would just be tied to city projects,
Correct.
construction or residential or anything?
Correct. That's one of the conversations we had, is that we don't want to dictate what residents are doing at their homes. We've had that, we kind of had that conversation, but if the city says things we can do, and then we can ultimately put that spec on our sustainability website. So if people are interested in doing it in their home, they could then have a tool to work with their contractors on.
Go ahead, Michelle.
So I like the idea of like making sure we incorporate good sustainable practices, good environmental practices for city things. Do you envision this checklist being like you have to comply with all these things, or is it we would ask you to comply with, tell us which of these you will be able to comply with? Like, because I could see if we have a supply, I would be concerned about like if there was a major supply chain disruption and a material, all of a sudden we'd have a problem. Were you thinking on this checklist, like how would it be kind
I
of
think
filled out?
the start of this would be plastic and trying to get any plastic products off of being used for those type of vegetation products. And I'm not too concerned about that. I think there are enough products out there. Ultimately, when you think about erosion control, there's different things you can do besides just a sock that has plastic around it. When you think about seed, there's different things you can do. You can hydro seed, which then you don't actually need any of that matting. You could just put down straw. The problem with just putting down straw will blow away. It'll get kicked around, things like that. So there's other options we can definitely look into that won't, I think, affect supply chain.
Just to clarify, so is this just for like ground-based projects? Like lawn, garden, landscaping, or is this for like construction materials for the walls for the comfort station?
No,
or
for now, it's just kind of working on landscaping, yes, projects that get rid of plastics.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you for clarifying.
Sure.
Oh, so yeah, I think I'm on the Sustainability Commission, so I heard a little bit more of the discussion. And one thing that struck me at that meeting that I'll just share with you all is someone was saying that she used to play soccer, and when they put the sod down, there's plastic underneath. And she's like, you're going along and you kick and your foot goes in the plastic netting that's underneath. And I'd never really thought about it, but I'm like, oh yeah, I guess it does. So I would definitely think if this is something that could be built in, it seems like a good thing. I think we would just want to be cautious about the amount that it increased costs and the availability of this. If even someone like SWT does not have this kind of spec sheet, I'm excited that we might be pushing people to do this, but I also am cognizant that we don't want it to be so expensive for the city, but I think it's a really good idea.
And we can definitely, as we start developing these things, we can work with different vendors and contractors, see what the cost difference are, and we can obviously bring that back because my thought, if we want to do a standard spec for city projects, that's something that we'd want to let you guys take a look at anyway.
All right, well, I think it's pretty favorable. We just need
Great.
to, if you can come back with the cost on that, we can.
Well, so last is sustainability toolkits. This is something that is in the city sustainability plan. The idea of putting together this family toolkit, which is a way to kind of get parents to help kids start to think about how to be sustainable. And there's different ways to do it. We looked at a lot of things, but books, trivia games, flashcards, other kind of hands-on family activities. So we looked at this. We thought that we could develop that for probably around $200 with maybe a cost of $50 to $100 a year for things that get lost or get lost or need to be replaced. And so we don't think it's an exorbitant cost. And again, we think it's a good product that we can move forward with. People would come to the rec center and check them out. There'd be an opportunity maybe even to work with the public library and see if that's something that if we build for them, they could house and be part of the things they check out. Because, libraries have tons of things they check out nowadays. My favorite are bunt pans. We haven't done it yet, but my daughter wants to. But beyond that, I think it's a good thing that we can do. As we looked, there's another one we kind of looked at, and this is kind of a do-it-yourself energy saving and sustainability toolkit that residents, and you're talking more of the adults, could come, pick up. It'd have things like a kilowatt meter, infrared laser, thermometer, things that you could then go back to your house. There'd be a guide to show you how to use it, how to maintain it, how to kind of take the readings, and then how to make then your house more green. Again, I think we could probably do that one for about $500 to $600 with about $100 to $150 a year, because those are a little bit bigger cost items, things that might need to be replaced. And so the Sustainability Commission was interested in that one as well. I think staff is also kind of excited about that one because it is something that we give to adults and let them kind of do this. A good idea was to kind of maybe work with Home Depot, see if they can kind of help us start that kit. So maybe that would take away a lot of that initial startup cost. And, I know Home Depot has been good to the city. There was just something the other day that they worked with Tim Hammer on donating some items to the fire department. So I think it's something that we could probably talk to them about. So their recommendation is to move forward with both kits. I said that obviously that would be something I have to bring to the Public Works Committee for probably approval. And then if so, we'll start working on that and hopefully have them ready and out early in 2026.
Well, I'll start, but I brought this up at our ward meeting this week just to let them know this was going on, and there was great enthusiasm, especially for the energy saving and sustainability toolkit. People weren't even really aware that these tools were out there, and people don't know how you would get them, and it's an investment for one person for just evaluating your house, and they were really enthusiastic. So. They wanted to know where it was at the library, was at the rec center. They were asking where they could get it. And I'm like, well, it has to get approved. But
Got to get approved, we got to build it first. The good news is one of the recommendations from Sustainability Commission was to get aldermen and alderwomen to kind of do a video showing you guys using the stuff, so it makes it easier for everyone. Or we got John, because John's great on video too. So, we have lots of options, but the idea is...
wanted us to go into our houses and test our own appliances, and Sharon and I were pretty quiet.
We thought that, if you guys wanted to, we could do it here at City Hall. But yeah, so there's, I think, a lot of good things we can do with this, a lot of good videos, and like I said, there'd be a user guide with that kit too, so.
They have to spend money.
I'll make a motion that to direct the Parks Department to begin creating a family sustainable toolkit and a DIY energy saving toolkit.
I'll second it.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
Great, thank you very much.
All right, we'll move on to reports from planning and development. I guess the first item, Whitney, is we took up this tree removal policy, and you were coming back with a table.
Yeah, that's further down under old business.
Oh, I'm jumping ahead of myself. Okay.
So the department report is for the month of October, there were 199 new building permits and 958 inspections. Code enforcement had 22 new cases and 37 inspections. The Planning and Zoning Commission meeting met last night. There were 2 items on the agenda, the continuation of the KinderCare CUP, and that received a recommendation. So we'll be at the Board of Aldermen on the December 1st for public hearing and first review. And then the T-Mobile CUP at 1201 Strassner Drive in the former Twin Oaks Woodfire Fair restaurant space. They're taking up the whole building. Within the Hanley Station development, that was continued to the December 10th meeting for additional landscaping, and hopefully they will come in for their comprehensive sign plan so it's all reviewed at the same time. So, the Board of Adjustment, we received 2 applications for variances. However, since the meeting date normally falls on Thanksgiving, we've moved it to December 3rd. And the Architectural Review Board, we didn't have a quorum for the November 20th ARB meeting. So that has been rescheduled for December 9th. So.
I have a question from the building division. So I heard from a neighbor who got cited for something, which was totally valid citation. And they were asking about, were the people driving by my house or whatever. Is there any way to break down the data between a citizen, like a neighbor reported versus a code drive? No? Okay. They were just asking. I was like, well, someone could have been doing an inspection at a neighbor's house. Another neighbor could have done it. It was one of those, well, why did I get cited, but I know that there's another house 2 blocks away that didn't get cited? Why? Kind of the why me situation. But
Yeah, I mean.
it was a fair citation, so I mean, they were absolutely in the wrong, but I think they just kind of.
Yeah, it's a number of factors. It could be, like you said, someone reported it to the city, so we investigated. It could also be that an inspector was in that area and may have saw it, the violation, and just didn't catch the one 2 blocks away. It could, any number of those.
Information does exist, which is why most people, when they call in, either do it anonymously or just that. So it is part of our data, and if you sunshine it, we have to produce it. And then it gets into bad neighbor relationship. So
Yeah, I don't want to cause neighborhood drama, but I was just wondering if it was an easy way to pull the data. But if it's not an easy way to pull the data, then.
Right. And if you remember earlier this year we were cited, someone received a complaint, we cited them, so they took it upon themselves to drive all over town reporting everyone else, so.
Yeah,
We do get that too.
Yes, this neighbor did not tell me the address or the exact block the person was on, but they're like, oh, on a different street, and I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
So, anyway, I know that's, when you get caught, people don't like getting caught on something, but it was a fair citation, so just curious if that, to help people understand, like, oh, why did I get a citation?
Okay, yeah.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Whitney. We'll see you in a little bit. Move on to Dan with Public Works Department.
Got a few miscellaneous project updates here. So McKnight Road, still haven't heard back from TAPCO about the date that they'll be coming out there to do the crosswalk, the pilot program. I know the materials have been ordered. They just haven't picked a date yet. They have to send their staff from Wisconsin down here. So I know they'll have to plan to drive and get hotel rooms and all that. So as soon as I find out, I'll let everyone know. 288 Hanley Industrial Court, we did have a quote for the roof repairs from Frederick Roofing. It includes gutters, downspouts, portions of the warehouse. I didn't have them include the portions that'll be torn away because I thought, well, it's not necessary. But you can still see it's fairly expensive at $21,700. And we did receive a quote for the fire suppression system. That number is $7,428. I did route that one around for CRA approval just because I want to get the fire suppression done first and foremost, just because we've got a tenant in there, we have our equipment stored in there. It'll replace the obsolete heads as well as the antifreeze system that isn't working quite right. And as soon as I see what my budget is, I'll try to squeeze that roof in as well. Since I know the next item, this 2832 Manderley, the retaining wall, I don't see that being done this year, so I planned on using its savings because I've been holding back roughly $50,000 to do that. And I'll use it for as much as I can for other things like the roof, and I'll put together a budget amendment and bring that to Ways and Means. So that, like I said, that's the update for Manderley. Without the agreement, we can't proceed. We could still do the job early into next year because it doesn't have concrete. It's all pre-formed block and straps. So as long as the ground's not frozen, it could be done next year. Now, we'd just hold money aside if that's what we're gonna do in '26. Strassner Drive, good news, the decorative light was installed this week, so all 5 of those lights are working. I know that typically towards Thanksgiving, right before, parks will decorate those lights, so all 5 are working. I checked them out this morning. Manchester Road, the electrician is working on his quote for doing the control panel and the light near the self-storage, and there's another group of lights that isn't working closer to where Circle K used to be, and that'll be fixed as well. Last item here is scouting for food. Boy Scouts, like every year, have asked if they could use City Hall's old fire bay, and we've always let them do it. It's held on Saturday, November 22nd. I can open up for them, and then they'll lock up, and then they'll pick the food up Sunday, and then that'll be that. One item that isn't on here that we talked about in our prep meeting, Salem Road. Ameren's got 3 streetlights on the west side of Salem that are still not working because of storm damages back in May. They confirmed today that the job is with construction. They have to set a new pole where one of them was broken, and then they'll connect the secondary and the overhead power. They think it'll be the first week of December. So at least some good news on that front.
Comments for Dan?
Okay.
Dan, thanks for
Thanks.
the report. Move on to the consent agenda. We just have the minutes from last month's meeting. If there are no changes to those minutes, could we just once again do it by acclamation? So it shall be approved by acclamation. Moving on to old business. Whitney, tell us all about your program for the trees in the right-of-way.
So we've included in the packet an updated table from the Parks Department that is simpler. So if a tree is between 0 and 8 inches DBH, it would be $450 per tree. 9 to 14, it would be $900, and 15 to 20 would be $1,350, and 21 inches and above would be $1,800.
So how many, I know there was one on my street, but how many trees are taken out by residents every year?
I've only heard of 3, so.
I'm aware of 2, I'm aware of 2.
Yeah, I'm aware of 3, so,
One may predate you, but yeah.
okay.
I know there's been a couple that I've seen where the developers, when they build a new home on the site, have wiped out trees right away. So this would apply to them, correct?
Correct.
What are you needing? Oh, go ahead.
And to clarify, so the table that's provided, the 0 to like 8 inches, that's diameter?
Yeah.
Like bottom base
Well,
diameter?
it's diameter at breast height, so it's about 3 feet, 4 feet above grade.
And these numbers are comparable with MSD?
Well, not MSD, yes, it's the numbers, the chart we presented last time was what they reimbursed the city for. It's just we were trying to simplify.
It's the nice, like,
yeah.
simple table?
Yeah.
It's this inches, this much?
Yeah. Do you want to?
Nice table.
With MSD, their chart that they actually got from St. Louis County a long time ago is basically, hey, if you take out this diameter, you really need to replace it with 1 tree, or you need to replace it with 2 trees. And so instead of doing a chart that then makes it a little bit more convoluted, it was easier to say, hey, 0 to 8 DBH is X amount of numbers, 9 to whatever is, X amount of dollars. And so we'll still replace 1 tree in that spot, and then we'll use the rest of the money to replace trees other places throughout the city.
Okay, it looks like, if there's no other questions, we need a recommendation to forward onto the full board, this policy. Is
Correct.
that what you're requesting?
So, and we will clarify the wording in the draft ordinance to maybe say that tree fund is established by the Parks and Recreation Department for cost of a similar DBH tree. instead of saying, that is charged to you, the same amount that is charged to the utility. So we'll clarify that when it goes to the Board of Aldermen.
Right, go ahead, or I can do it.
I'll make a motion to present for discussion and to be presented to the Board of Aldermen.
Second.
Roll call vote.
Yes.
Alderwoman Gold,
Yes.
Alderman Erger,
Yes.
Alderman Lockmiller.
Yes. A little bit. All right, Eric. What you got for us?
So the Department of Public Health Municipal Grant, that is something that Dan brought to the Public Works Committee a few months ago. And at the time, there was discussion of what to do, and you guys referred this over to the Sustainability Commission. So it took us a couple months to kind of talk about it, get information on the latex paint recycling event. And as we discussed it in sustainability, they really like the idea of doing a paint recycling. It's interesting, the paint gets recycled and then they take out all the impurities and then give it to Habitat for Humanity. So it's kind of an interesting sort of setup. And while we were talking about it, it's like, well, if that's going to be, Michelle Boyer decided or figured out, worked with the company, and it's about $500 per event. So it's not a whole lot. It is $1 per pound per paint. And I think, each gallon is somewhere between 10 and 12 pounds. So it's going to be somewhere between $5 to $12, depending on how much you recycle. And so what they suggest is it's pretty typical for basically to say, hey, per car, you get up to 25 gallons. And then the city can subsidize, or gallons, 25 pounds. Sorry, that'd be a lot. I saw your face. Saw your face, Alderwoman Gold, like, yep, that was a mistake. So 25 pounds, did it again. And then basically the city could reimburse the company for that. So it'd be a way to kind of subsidize a little bit more and be a little bit nicer if the city wanted to do that. And then the conversation was, okay, if we're going to do this, I think it's a great idea for a year, but it's not a whole lot. So could we tie in all of our other, like our shred event or recycling events? And that makes a lot of sense. And so what ultimately came up out of sustainability was to recommend applying for the grant for the 4 paper shredding events, the 4 recycling events, the 2 paint recycling events, and then a paint subsidy of $3,000, which is $1,500 per event. So grand total will be about $8,200, which is still pretty low, but kind of in line with what we've asked for before, but nowhere near that $25,000 max where they really kind of start looking at them. So we felt comfortable based on what Dan told us to kind of stay around that $8,000, $8,500 mark.
Clearly, I'm on SESCOM, so I think it's a great idea, and I also think it's a great thing for us to ask for this grant, since we already have the recycling containers, which we've asked for in the past. So, I'll make a motion to. Do we need to forward this on to the big board, or?
No, it's just a direction to apply for the grant.
Make a motion to direct staff to apply for this grant with the Department of Public Health.
And second.
All right, let's just do voice vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone oppose? Thank you. All right, moving on. Whitney, you're back up again for the update on the building code, which the full board will vote on next month. You and John?
Pardon me?
So, actually, we wanted y'all to be aware, we thought we'd just read through these books for you. So buckle in.
Fill your cups up.
Wake me up when you're done.
I'm just kidding. So we need to.
Okay, evening. I know we've kind of gone through this before, but is that?
Yeah.
Oh, never done it, yeah.
Okay.
We're going to try to do that.
not letting us do that. Okay.
As when we brought this to you originally, we talked about there may be some changes as we go, if there's any suggestions or things like that. So we have added maybe a couple things in here, maybe changed a little bit, but mostly it's going to be the same. But we wanted to run through it with you guys one more time before it goes to council. So if you have any questions tonight, we can address those and take care of any concerns that you may have. So we're going to start with the section 500.010 of the regulations governing construction. This one, and as you'll see, anything in red is what we want to take out. Anything that is underlined and italicized is what we want to put in. So we wanted to take out number 1, 2, and 3 on there because it talked about construction and 50% of habitable spaces before you need a permit. Room additions was 20%, and then commercial, we wanted to remove that section, and then we wanted to simplify it maybe a little bit and make it that the construction of any new 1 and 2 family structures, renovations or repairs to any existing 1 and 2 family structures, and then for the construction of any commercial structures and renovations or repairs, any existing commercial structures then would need a permit. Yes, ma'am.
For renovations, I define that because if I just rip out, I swap out my plank basement floor for my carpet would be, like, I feel like one person would call that a renovation, another person would say, well, I gutted out my kitchen, but it was just updates.
Right, yeah. The code doesn't cover things like that. The code only covers if you're going to get into structural, or you're going to make repairs, and we use, like, say, electrical. If you replace an outlet in your house, we don't require a permit. But if you're going to run a new circuit and put outlets in, then we would require a permit then. So basically, if you're just changing cabinets or you're putting new flooring in, it's not need, or it doesn't need a permit.
Right, because it just, the way point 1 reads, the construction of any new 1 or 2 family structures, comma, renovations or repairs. That the renovations or repairs was just kind of what.
So you think taking renovations out? Is that what you're?
Well, just defining what like renovations of more than $10,000, because renovations is very vague. Same with repairs. Like, am I repairing my sump pump? And so I don't need a permit, or
Right.
does that make sense? Like, some people are going to read repairs are like, oh, it doesn't apply to me, and some people will. So just to like define the words renovation.
And I guess putting a dollar amount to it, because I know when I put the flooring down in my house, it was pretty expensive, $7,000, $8,000.
Yeah.
And you could hit $10,000 mark pretty quick, just
Yeah.
by doing flooring or.
Yeah,
Now,
so
if you
if
get
it's
into
15 or
changing, if you get into changing like window sizes and things like that, door sizes, then that would require a permit.
Right. So I don't know if we just want to put a little, it could be, it maybe not $5,000, maybe $20,000, but just some sort of trigger so people have some
Or
account.
could it be discretionary to the building?
Yeah, I'm
official?
totally fine with you picking
Would
a
that
number.
be in the code?
Yeah, I think it is covered in the code because it talks about what you need, what a building permit, what it would require to say you have to have a building permit.
Okay.
And this is all structure. This is not just going into an existing structure
Correct.
and replacing something.
Right,
Right.
We're
Correct.
talking structural.
yeah.
Right, because the way it was defined is 50% of habitable space, so that was a firm metric. And then 2 is work exceeds 20% of any floor is a firm metric, and we're taking out those definitions. Make it, yeah, I'm fine with. a
Yeah, when
number of your-
you read the red section there, it's, you could 50% of your house.
Yeah,
You're gonna
it's
large
very,
without a building permit.
right, but the other one, it becomes, could it be read the other way? So I'm fine with whatever number you want to put in there defined, but I would
Okay,
maybe. Okay, so the red comes out, but the
Right,
red
right.
defines that construction for all new residentials into existing dwellings of 50% of habitable space. So these regulations apply to dwellings in excess, that make renovations in excess of 50% of habitable space or 20% of any floor. So those come out, so we take away those definitions and we simplify the definition to, the construction of any 1 or 2 family structure, so that's totally great. Renovations or repairs to any existing 1 or 2 family structures. So it has no definition to the word renovation or repairs. Am I being too technical? Did I just get way too?
I'm sorry? What is family structure? 1 and 2 family would be residential.
Residential.
Yes.
So it could be any part of a 1 or 2 family structure? Give
Yes, ma'am.
examples of what it would be.
Yeah, it
that
just it wouldn't be like putting in cabinets. You know, we don't pull permits, you want to change your countertops, we wouldn't pull permits for things like that.
So maybe structural renovation, structural electrical renovations?
Yeah, that might be a good addition.
Just to clarify, like, once again, cabinets if you cabinets, flooring, have fun, paint your house to your heart's content, but as soon as you get into major electrical,
General updating. Don't want general updating to be included.
correct, yeah, I don't want the little stuff,
Right.
but all of a sudden, like.
And we
if
don't
I-
do that now.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. I like how you're simplifying. I like the idea of simplifying it. I just could see one
I'd
group,
stay away from a dollar amount and just go with your ideas.
We'll add structural in there.
like significant structural or electrical repairs, because that takes away like, oh, you dropped, I don't think you care if I drop a ceiling fan, an extra like wire to be able to do a ceiling fan with like an extra light in a bedroom, but you probably care if I rewired the house.
Be rewired, yes. Yeah, so we'll add structural renovations.
Okay,
Does that sound right? Sound good?
yeah, I think that's,
Everybody's good with that? Okay, good,
thank you.
good. That's why we
I
came back.
get very technical very quickly on things, as you've noticed.
You make a great building inspector.
That's your job, not mine.
All right, we'll jump to section 500.030 is job sites. This talks about the dumpsters on a job site. When I read this, it said it could go 18 inches above the side wall of a dumpster. Well, to me, that's way too much because you got paper, you got all kinds of different stuff. Things are gonna blow out. And typically, dumpster companies don't want that to exceed the sidewalls to begin with. So that's why I recommend we take that out and just leave it as the sidewall, no higher than the sidewalls. Okay?
Sounds good.
And now we'll get into the adoption of the International Building Code. This was pretty much changing dates, going from the 2018 to the 2024 edition, and then the appendixes, adopting those because you have to adopt appendixes that you want in there. And then we'll go to the resident, and we're adopting the building code pretty much as is. We go to the residential code again, we've changed the dates, and then we've added the appendixes that are in the back of the code book. This is just the climate and geographical design criteria. These are things that we fill in for our locality. Most of these are the same. The wind speed went up to 115 miles an hour, and that's what we look at when we do a plan review. What the wind speed is, what the ground snow loads are, things like that. So when we're reviewing plans, that's the things that we're going to look at. Just the winter design temperature went up to 15 degrees. I think it was 9 before. So it's getting warmer. Look at it that way. Under the mean annual temperature, they used to have a temperature in there, and they've got away from that, and they've just went to climate zones, and we're in climate zone 4A. 1 and 2 family sprinkler systems, we've taken that out of the, for 1 and 2 families. We've left in the townhouses. Intermediate exhaust control, which if you guys remember, we talked about those, the lights, so we can kind of make this maybe a little bit quicker. The interior lights, habitable spaces, the light fixtures or the motion sensors. We're removing all that. The garages, laundry rooms, utility rooms, that was coming out. And then the exterior lightings where the total lights exceed 30 watts, we've taken that section out, okay? The chimney linings, that was something where we've added an exception for chimney liners. If you add in, if you've got a brick chimney and you're gonna add a furnace and put your flue inside the brick chimney, we're gonna ask that you have what's called a level 2 chimney inspection, and that's where they run a camera down and inspect the inside of the chimney. That way we know the chimney's safe. If it's not safe, then we would require them to put a liner in it. So it kind of helps. The way it was written is that every chimney would have to have a liner in it. After talking with the fire department and that, we've kind of decided, not every chimney really needs a liner. If it's good chimney, it's in good condition, they can go ahead and exhaust it out and let it go up and go out into the air. We're going to go to National Electrical Code. Again, that's just changing the dates to the 2023 edition. The Electrical Code is a year behind the building codes, or a year before, I guess, the building codes. So that's why they're 23 and the building codes are on 24. Under 4612 with the tamper-resistant receptacles, we didn't feel that putting those in all the areas in a residential home was really needed. If you want to put those in, somebody has kids, if they want to put them in, they could go ahead and do it themselves. But we thought that was going a little bit maybe over and above board. But we kept it in and everything else. So guest rooms and hotels, motels, childcare facilities where there's kids there all the time, doctor's offices, things like that would still require that they be tamper-proof. Okay. We'll go to the mechanical code. Again, changing dates and then adopting the appendixes. That was pretty easy. The plumbing code is the same thing here. The only thing that was added is when you look at 305.4.1, the sewer depths, they've added millimeters in. So we not only have 30 inches, but if you want to know, 762 millimeters is 30 inches. I even checked it to make sure. The existing building code, again, changing dates, and that was we adopted as is. The fuel gas code, again, with the chimney linings, since it's in two different code books, we added it in that section also. We added an exception to where the level 2 and chimney inspection would be required. Energy conservation code, 2018, we changed the date to 2024. The appendixes, and I'm sorry, I think these appendixes were the same though. That's why I didn't italicize them or underline them. That's what it was adopted before. And then the property maintenance code, which is section 500.830 of the code, city ordinance, that's changing the dates from 2018 to 2024. We did remove the means of appeals because we do not have an appeals board here in the city of Brentwood. So it would come to us, maybe city attorney. We've had one time since I've been here. We met with the city attorney and the gentleman and worked through that way, and it worked out real well. Worst case scenario is that they would receive a summons and have to go to court then. Weeds, 302.4. The thing we added there was under with the exception of the month of April, because we have low mow April for that. So we will not do any weed notices or violations in the month of April. All right. Insect screens, the code wanted us to put dates in there. Oh, I'm sorry, let me go back.
Sorry. Completely agree with your comment about the month of April. There's the part where it says shall be maintained free from grass, brush, vegetation, weeds, or plant growth in excess of 7 inches. Just for clarity, does this include, like, some people do native plantings, like in the median, and those so those would be out?
Right,
they're in
yeah,
the, okay.
that would not be included. We had a gentleman that had a lot of stuff in his front yard.
Mm-hmm.
We took the horticulturist out there. They named all the plants. He was fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So insect screens, we just took those dates out. It's just easier to say, okay, you have to have insect screens. Sometimes we have a nice winter. Somebody wants to open a window. At least it keeps the screens in there. And we also kind of did the same thing with the heat supply. Just to remove the dates, just to say that you have to be able to supply somebody with a heating system that will at least heat to 68 degrees. And then for occupiable workspaces, it's 65 degrees. So we just have that. Thought it was easier just to not put in dates. Typically, you'd put in a date like for the insect screens, like April to November. This way, those other couple months, we just thought it'd be easier.
May I ask a question, John?
Yes, ma'am.
So the insect screens, so are we saying that every window has to have an insect screen, or that all the time, like, are we going to cite people if they take their screens out in the winter?
No,
Okay,
No.
so this is just for when you build a home, all the windows have to have
Yeah.
a screen? Okay,
Yes,
that's
correct.
great. Okay, perfect. I
Yeah.
just,
And what we can do is just, hey, the screens are laying here on the side. We're good.
it's funny that there were dates in there to begin with, so I was just a
yeah.
little perplexed
Yeah.
by that, but thank you.
And then we'll get into the fire code, which is one of our last codes, or second to last code. The change the dates, and we adopted the appendixes that, and worked with the fire department, with Tim Hammer and the chief on these. So we've got all that in there. And then we're going to go to section 101.1 on the title. It says these regulations, which shall be known as the fire code of the city of Brentwood. So we put that in there. 103.1 was the creation of the agency, and it just states that the City of Brentwood Fire Department is hereby created, and the fire chief or his designee shall be known as a fire code official. Questions? Everybody agree with that? Okay. Again, we took out means of appeal. The 307.4 under location, this has to do with fires, fire pits, fire containers. It has there was an exception that it had to be fit, or it could be as close as 15 feet to a house. We're taking that out and saying it has to be 25 feet. And that pretty much puts us in with all the other different sections of that talks about 25 feet away from different things. So we just felt with a house is no different than anything else. Let's keep it at 25 feet. Yes, ma'am.
So would this mean if you had a little small fire pit container thing that needs to be 25 feet from your house?
Yes.
Lot's not that super deep.
Correct, chief? Correct me if I'm wrong. It's 25 feet, yes.
25 feet.
Yeah. I mean, if I'm sure if it's out and you don't have a big roaring fire, nobody's going to care. But we had to come up with a distance to put in there. And as I said, that just keeps in with all the other sections that are in there with the 25 feet when you're doing burning.
No one's going to care until your house burns?
So their house catches on fire. Yeah. Or the neighbor houses catch on fire.
I have a very strange lot, so I'm trying to figure out if I could get 25 feet deep.
Not that either. Okay.
Bottom of the drive. I could do it at the very bottom of the corner of the driveway.
Having that.
I know. I'm like, there went my fire pit. 25 feet.
Do you use a gas fire pit or do you use a wood burning? I'm sorry?
I have a little wood burning one.
Wood burning one?
And it's 15 feet from the house. I'm pretty, well. Measuring to get in compliance.
Your insurance company may even require it to be that.
25 feet?
Insurance companies want it that way too.
Not sure on the insurance company requirement, but I'm not aware of any lots in Brentwood that are less than 50 feet. So I don't see that being a concern for most
yeah.
lots. Yeah. But are you getting to be consistent also with burning pits, if that's the right term?
I think it's next slide.
So recreational outdoor fires, thank you. We need to be consistent on this. We recently had a violation of St. Louis County and State of Missouri Department of Natural Resources codes and statutes that occurred in the city, and we did not have language consistent with them. So this is an introduction to that, so that we have the same language and enforcement capability as the county and the state. But the 25 feet is consistent throughout the code. So
I mean, if we're getting in line with the county, then that's
Yes.
only fair. I might know of many people who are not compliant with 25 feet, nowhere near.
yep.
So
Most
either-
of the time when we are involved, it is because of a smoke nuisance, and people are concerned that their neighbor is going to start their property on fire. So, and that's where we get involved. We'll investigate, and sometimes we ask them to put it out, sometimes we put it out.
So it would be open burning fires, outdoor fireplaces. Does it include gas or just includes gas? Wow,
Yes.
gas propane, okay. will go look at my compliance.
Okay, and then we've got section 307.4, which Chief was just talking about, the open burning. And we've added the exception in there to recreational fire shall be comprised of only untreated seasoned dry firewood, which is free of leaves, needles, yard waste, garbage, rubbish, treated wood, or tree trimmings. And total cumulative base area of the fire shall not exceed 9 square feet, and the recreational fire shall not cause smoke, ash, or particulates matter to remain visible in the air or upon surfaces beyond the property line where the fire is occurring.
Not so much the size of the fire, but a lot of people will do some pruning and dry some wood out. A lot, it's like that throughout the neighborhood. Like I routinely see people have their stacks by their house with their non-compliant fire pits.
Right.
So it is one of those we might need to, it'd be nice to educate before we surprised people with, what do you mean the rule changed? So, I mean, I appreciate the safety. I don't want my house to burn down either. I like my house. I want to keep my house. So I don't want my house to burn. I don't want any neighbor's house to burn. We've already had that on my street, but I think this would come as a surprise to a lot of people. So,
Right. And that's what,
not opposed from doing it, just
yeah. And that's with the fire marshal. We went on a call, and I mean, the guy had 2 fires going, one way in the back of his yard and the other one up close to his house. And it's just like, yeah, you're getting kind of close there.
I mean, a lot of people, their fire pits, they'll have the little, I mean, they're very, they're smaller fire pits. They're usually on poured concrete slabs by their, their concrete slabbing out back or driveways, but they're not a lot of them are not 25 feet from the house.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Chief, too, it's more of the ashes, the cinders that come out of there that is going to be the bigger problem. And when you're that close to a house, just like a house fire, the house next to it can catch on fire from that because of stuff that's burning and the ashes and fly out and go next door.
Yeah.
Catch siding on fire, roofs on fire.
Yeah, definitely. I'm going to go measure some stuff on that. So I'm not going to hold it up over that. That's kind of,
Okay.
there's a number of different houses, not just mine, that I all of a sudden want to take a measuring tape to see like, how would that?
Right. Okay.
It'll be a surprise for a lot of people.
Any other questions with that? We good to go?
Yep.
Okay.
Thank you.
And under location, under the fire code, we've added within the city of Brentwood without the written consent of the, I'm sorry, let me start, I guess start that from the beginning, because this is where the above ground tanks are prohibited, where you're gonna see this more in a commercial area. The storage of class 1 and 2 liquids in above ground tanks outside of a building is prohibited. And then we've added in that within the city of Brentwood, without the written consent of the fire marshal, existing tanks in safe condition and complying with state and federal requirements will be allowed to remain. So if they're existing and they meet those requirements, then they would allow them to stay there. Again, fire safety, 500.850. We've removed our townhouses of 3 stories or less. We want to make sure these townhouses, since they are connected, are safe. And that's why we kept them in with the fire sprinklers, to have those sprinkled. Okay. We took out the means of appeal, violations and penalties. We removed those. And this 903.3.1.1, which is the automatic sprinklers, shall be installed as established by the adopting ordinance. This is in existing structures, commercial structures, and it had a date in there that they would give them. And we just removed that date again, and it'll be up to the fire marshal and the fire department to decide how long they want to give them. It might take some company 90 days to get them installed. It might take somebody 30 days. So we thought it'd be better to have it to where the fire marshal, the fire chief can go ahead and make a decision on how long they want to give them to be able to do that. This is something new. We didn't have, this wasn't in the code before, the swimming pool codes, swimming and spa codes. That's something that I think should have been in there, so that's why I've added it. This is all going to be new, the International Swimming Pool and Spa Code 2024 edition, including the Appendix B. And then we've also added down here let's see, the terms of the swimming pool spot code. So that's just adding that wording in and adopting that as the swimming and spot code for the city of Brentwood. Accessible design, there was not, the ADA was not adopted either. There was no adoption of either the ADA or the ANSI standards for adaptability for the handicap. So we wanted to make sure that we had something in there that we can fall back onto. And then so we've adopted that also. We've put that in for an adoption. And that's just, again, stating the 2010 ADA standards for accessible design be and is hereby is adopted as the ADA standards of the city of Brentwood. Under section 500.045, this will be just changing the name. We had it named as spot survey. We're saying we're going to remove spot survey and working with the state, the proper terminology is surveyor's real property report required. So it's the same thing as a spot survey, it wasn't named as a spot survey, so we're just changing that name. And we do that when we have like a foundation poured to make sure that the foundation meets the setback requirements. So the surveys report, we just added that in again. One of the things that when I started here, I wanted to incorporate is inspections of roofs. As you know, when there's a tornado, there's heavy storms, there's hail, you get all kinds of roofing companies in here. We have no way to track them. We have no way to see if they're putting the roof installing the roof properly. So what I'd like to do is start a roofing permit also to go along with all our other permits. And then that way they would have to get a contractor's license. They would have to pull a permit. We would do probably 2 inspections on it. We'd make sure that there was a drip edge on the edge of the roof all the way around, and that there's, depending on the slope of the roof, if it would need an ice dam on it. And typically what that is just 2 layers of felt, anywhere from 2 to 3 feet up, depending on the pitch of the roof. I've seen a lot of companies, not here maybe so much, but in other areas that they're just out of state. They come in, they slap shingles on, and they're gone. You never see them again. So we would like to be able to start doing that with your permission or thoughts.
Is this, so I know there's a number of local roofing companies, at least one in Brentwood that I'm aware of. Is this something that would be easy for them to pass? So like,
Yeah, it's not going to stop them from getting a license. All our contractors' licenses, it's a $75 fee. They apply for it, give them the information that's needed. There's no state guidelines or anything for them. So we would, just like we do with a general contractor, they would get their contractor's license, they would pull permits for them, and then we would be able to go out and then make sure that the roof's installed properly.
Does this require removing the old roof completely? And
After
shingles and all?
the second layer, yes, you can have up to 2 layers
2
on a
layers,
roof.
okay.
So, and I've seen it where they put 3 and 4 layers on a roof, and roof trusses aren't designed, or roof rafters aren't designed to hold that much weight, because when you put a snow load on top of it, it's really pushing it. And that's it for that. We do have something else that just came in that we just found out about, actually. Is in your house, as you're probably aware of, when you look at your drain lines and you look at your waste stacks and that, they come down through the house. They start at top of the roof, let's say outside, so your sewer gases go out, but they come down all the way through, go down through your basement floor, and go out to your sewer lateral. Well, they're requiring that we start doing, it's called strapped plumbing requirements. And what it is that instead of going down through your floor, it'll stop on the ceiling of your lowest floor, typically your basement floor, or your basement ceiling, I mean. And then it will run around, go out the sidewall, and then go to your sewer lateral on the outside. And it's to help stop flooding of basements and that. So
Won't have a basement floor drain then.
you still have a basement floor drain, you're gonna have to run it to a sump pump.
Pump it out.
If you put in a bathroom, you're gonna have to have a waste grinder and then to pump it up to the system. If you look, the last 2 pages will show you how it's installed and then what you need to do. You can run your downspouts to it. Because the MSD will allow stormwater and sewage to go in the same stack. So, and we are still checking on that, I think, because we haven't heard back from the attorney yet, right? Yeah, we are still checking with the attorney to see if this is something that we do have to do, or is it, and if it is, then it probably should go in the ordinance, I would think.
Nobody's gonna be able to afford a house pretty soon.
I was gonna say, this
That's a
seems
big
very
change.
complicated, because it includes
It's,
full rehab of, so, yeah.
yeah, and,
is-
it states that if it's a major rehab, well, what's major? Again, makes it a little bit more difficult. New houses, it would be really easy to do.
Or just to add on to like a bathroom and like a lot of people add a
bathroom in a
in the
basement?
basement would be really difficult.
Yeah, you have to
So-
put a waste grinder in, and what that will be with it'll be one of those tanks like you see here. It'll grind the waste, it'll shoot it up, just like a sump pump does, and then put it into the stack, and drain it out to the,
Even- Yeah, it's not a full well, no, you said if you added,
yeah.
okay.
But again, what point do you say it's a full rehab? Is my kind of problem with that. You know, it's easy when you're building a new structure, but, you know, if you're not replacing all the plumbing stacks and everything in that house.
So, I mean, this is something we kind of take in right now as far as adopting our codes.
Right,
And this could be done later especially if we don't have to.
correct. But I did want to make you guys aware of this.
Digest that later.
Yeah. Let's get the codes adopted first.
I think I'm wanting to go back to bathroom exhaust fans. So now we're just going to say you can do it by switch only? Didn't you have some concern about that?
I'm fine with, I didn't know such a product existed, and I mean, I have had a fire situation, but if the fire department's comfortable with what we have, if people wanted to put in an automatic switch-off exhaust fan, I think that's fine, but I'm totally comfortable with not requiring it, but just, you know, people could do it if they choose, especially if the fire department is comfortable with it.
Good. All right, anybody else have anything for John? Thanks for
All
making
good?
this- Yeah, thanks for making it understandable, John, and redlining and all that, so helps a
Yeah,
great deal.
good. Yeah, and if you guys come up with questions later, please contact me. Just
Oh,
let me know.
yeah,
I'd be
one
more than happy
more.
to try to work with you and try to answer anything I can.
Have we heard from the HBA on anything yet?
Oh, yes, no. No, I have not heard anything from HBA.
And no other contractors?
That last meeting, I did talk to the gentleman. I said, you know, send me the stuff that you have already so I can start looking at it, and I've heard nothing from him. Okay?
All right, great.
Thanks.
Thank you. All right, we'll move on to new business. And Dan, I think this is yours, the sewer lateral program of increasing the limit on that.
There's quite a bit of information in your packet, but I tried to boil it all down into something a little more palatable. This came about from budget presentations, Ways and Means. The current program has been sitting at $3,500 per calendar year per address since 2019. So when I started in 2016, we had no limit. Then we started making some revisions, you know, in 2017, 2018, and then 2019, and it's kind of been sitting at the same program since 2019. So I went through, pulled all the data that was easy to access. So by month, by year, went from 2018, so I have all of 2018 all the way to present, and then tried to put that into tables and then look for patterns and see if any of it made sense to me and where I could possibly go with it. So if you look at your packet, you've got a couple different spreadsheets. The one is just, like I said, it's month by month, the number of claims per month. Well, yeah, it's the number of claims. I took out the months just to make it easier. So you've got a gross number of claims, like for 2021, I know there's 19 claims. I listed the total amount of the claim, then the city's portion, as well as the resident's portion, and then listed the average and median for those.
And
Then,
those didn't make it into our packet.
oh, I saw it in mine, but there was like an A and a B. No? Yeah, maybe refresh. I don't know.
It's on the agenda, but it's not showing up as an
Oh, so it's
Yeah,
just
there's like a group of attachments, so I know they were scanned in.
Narrative?
Yep.
Okay,
Yes.
okay.
And then once I looked at each year individually, then I rolled them up into another table and then did a little graph to kind of see like what the average cost to the city is and what the average cost to the resident is. And I can kind of look at those blue and red line graphs and see that, you know, the costs are coming down for the city, but that's primarily because the limit went from 7,250 in 2018 down to 3,500. But you can kind of see the little squiggly red line that the average cost to the resident has gradually crept up. It's usually between like, say, $1,500 and $2,000. You know, and one thing to point out is that the assessed amount is still $50 for that house or, you know, single-family home. And in some cases, Brentwood Forest, you know, some of those dropped off back in 2018, I believe, and they don't pay the full amount for the ones that are qualified. Some do, some don't. But whenever I looked at all of this, kind of rolled it all up, I can kind of see that we trend towards, say, 28, 29 claims per year when you go all the way back. 2018, you know, had 47, but, you know, I just looked at as much data as I could to kind of pull it together. And then I know that we haven't changed our miscellaneous contractual budget in the last few cycles. It's, you know, trending at 126,000. So once I looked at all of that, then I just asked myself, well, with 126,000 miscellaneous contractual, how many repairs could you do at 3,500? That's roughly 36. And then if you were to increase it to say 4,000, you could do roughly 31 and a half repairs, you know, rounded to 32. And then at 4,500, if you were to propose that as your reimbursement limit, you could possibly do 28 repairs. So again, looking historically at the number of repairs and the costs, I feel okay that you could bump it from, say, 3,500 to 4,000, and you're still going to maintain a pretty flat slope. It benefits the resident. I know that the money we collect and put into this account is only to be used for sanitary sewer lateral repairs. So it's not like I can go out and do a bunch of other projects with it or go buy a truck or anything. So it really does need to stay in this line item. So the question becomes, you know, would you want to change it, leave it alone? And if we do change it, what's the effective date? You know, we could make it arbitrarily January 1st of next year. That way everybody gets 3,500 up until the end of the year and resets a different value.
Okay, so if I'm looking at the budget, we bring in 145 a year in this program. So that's what,
For the assessments.
for the assessments. So, and then we're sitting on, as of the end of this year, it looks like fund balance is going to be 255,000.
Correct.
So if we take it to 4,000, and we're not trending at 36, but I was looking at 36. So if we took it to 4,000 and we have 36 people a year, that's about what we bring. That's about 144. So that's like what we
Right.
bring in. So I guess my question is, since we're sitting on this big fund balance, my first question is that only for the lateral sewer portion, or do we spend any of that money on the repair that the city does for the repaving and the sidewalk?
We do a small portion. Most of it comes out of my street budget when we do it in-house.
Okay, so that doesn't come out of this.
Typically, no, it comes out of streets.
Okay, so then
Yeah,
I guess
65, 35.
my question is, like, if we took it to 4,250, it would be an extra $250 for residents. and it would cost an extra $9,000 a year, and it would take us 28 years to deplete the $255,000. But I mean, we went negative and we really
Right.
cut back, but at this point, we're sitting on money that can only be used to help residents with their lateral sewer. So I think we ought to spend the money to help residents with the lateral sewer. And maybe 4,500 is too much if we start, like, if a lot of them start going, but I'm personally pretty comfortable with 4,250. That costs 153,000 a year. We bring in 145, so it's a difference of 9,000, and we're sitting on 255,000. So I would certainly suggest going up to 4,250. I'll make a motion.
No, it's a decision for the board. I totally agree.
Okay.
With you, and it could even be higher. I mean, it is for that purpose.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I mean, if we did 4,500, it would take 14 years to deplete.
Right.
And then I'm like, well, if we start, like, with the age of our housing stock, and
That's what I was looking at too.
so
didn't-
I was
yeah.
just thinking, well, 4,250 still helps residents more. It's an extra 750 that we're giving. So I will make a motion to increase the lateral sewer reimbursement beginning January 1st, 2026 to $4,250.
So moved. Or second.
The only thing I got to say is, come January 2nd, all the plumbers will now be charging 402. All of a sudden, yeah. But no, I have no disagreement with you on your motion. It's just, it's a shame that it's out there and everybody can see what the costs are, and that's what's gonna happen. It's just gonna get chewed up just like 3,600 did. But any other discussion?
With the fact that more inflation will come, it's good. I always love keeping a little bit of reserves. Like, I'd hate to see us get to zero in case we just have there's an issue and all of a sudden a street or two, you get 20 and you can't help everyone. So I'd hate for it to deplete, but if we're not, as long as there's a baseline reserve for any of the high volume, last few years it's been really low, but if we got, 47 replacements in a year. So as long as we don't completely deplete, I'm fine with upping it because inflation is real.
Yeah, 2020 was the high water mark after 2018 with the $3,500 limit. So I was like, well, I probably won't hit that. I've been trending more or less around 30. And I think this year I'm at, say 28. I know I'm going to hit 30, 32.
Cap the number at all? Like, we will do up to 35 a year just to keep us within, what goes, no?
We'll bring it
Okay.
back to
Yeah.
you.
I'll bring it
If-
back
if-
if it
if it
starts to go the other way. That way, you got
Okay.
the ability to put the brakes on when we do budget next year. I don't
Oh, yeah,
foresee
okay, that's-
that, but
So, these numbers will not be reflected in the budget. It will probably be a budget amendment that we will bring back to you to reflect spending more there. Okay.
Well, hopefully someday there'll be somebody in state government that maybe could raise the a limit. Who knows? All right, let's have a roll call vote.
Alderwoman Tice.
yes.
Alderwoman Gold.
Yes.
Alderman Erger.
Yes.
Alderman Lockmiller.
Yes. Thank you,
okay.
Dan, for all that work on those tables
Thank
and
you.
everything. Okay, moving on, I think, what do we have? We've got HVAC, preventive and maintenance and repair. Eric, I guess this is yours?
Yeah. So we have a ongoing preventive maintenance repair service contract at the recreation complex. It's our typical contract. It's 3-year with 2 one-year renewals. And so our 5 years is up this year, so we need a new contract for next year. So we put this out for an RFP. We've been working with DECA the last 5 years. They've done a really nice job. We've been very happy with what they've done. And on top of that, they were the lowest price, or they had the lowest fee for the service. So our recommendation is to move forward with DECA for a 3-year contract with 2 one-year renewals.
Make a motion to move forward with DECO, as Eric just stated.
Second.
Octavia, can we have a roll call vote on this, forward onto the full board?
Alderwoman Tice.
Yes.
Alderwoman Gold.
Yes.
Alderman Erger.
Yes.
Alderman Lockmiller.
Yes. All right, Eric, and I think you've got the next one too regarding maintenance and repairs.
I do. Similarly, we have a contract for our ice rink refrigeration system, preventive maintenance and repairs. This is something we've had for a number of years. We had in the past been working with a company called State Mechanical. They actually a few years ago sold their company to Murphy Company. The good news is everyone who'd been working with us from State Mechanical stayed with Murphy and have been continuing that service to us at the rink. So our main contact has been serving that Brentwood ice rink for 26 years. So that is great knowledge. And what we like is he's even training people because he told us he probably won't make it through this next contract if he is selected. So again, we put it out. Again, Murphy, we've enjoyed working with Murphy for the last few years. They have extensive knowledge of our system, and they're the lowest. They provide the lowest fee of all the people who submitted a proposal.
Questions for Eric?
No question. I'm just going to make a motion.
Oh, no.
Yeah, motion to award the contract to Murphy Company.
Second.
Going to be forwarded on to the full board?
Yep.
Could we have a roll call vote, please, Octavia?
Alderwoman Tice.
Yes.
Alderwoman Gold.
Yes.
Alderman Urger.
Yes.
Alderman Lockmiller.
Yes.
Thank you.
Dan, I think you have the next item. It's motion fleet management, or motive, I'm sorry. Fleet management.
Yeah, we were able to speak with a vendor. Currently, we have US fleet for GPS units, and really they just do GPS information. So like if we want to query, a plow truck or sanitation, we can look and see that particular truck and where it's been, by day, by time, whatever we want to do with it. This other company, Motive, is more robust, so it's fleet management units. There's a gateway, and then there's a camera that would go in the cab. The camera looks forward and rearward, so it can look in the cab. There's also additional cameras you can mount to, say, like a trash truck. So that would be like an Omni camera, which has wiring and would be like above the hopper. They can give us 2 free units to just use on a trial basis for a couple weeks. Give us a username and password, and you can go to the platform and actually take a look at what this thing can do. So I tried to list under background like different things that these do that ours don't. So like maintenance codes, if for some reason, your service engine light comes on or it's got low oil pressure or something and it triggers an alarm, we can program that to go to the mechanic and immediately know what's going on with it instead of relying on a driver or somebody to report it. Driver safety, these cameras that are inside the cab, they use AI. So with the AI, it can tell me if the person isn't wearing their seatbelt or if they're smoking and you're not supposed to smoke in there. It also records your acceleration, hard braking, if you're following too closely. There's all kinds of things, and it basically can create a report card for a particular driver because the AI recognizes your face. Once I tag it with that person's name, then as soon as they enter, it's always going to know that that's that person. Other things would be like sustainability. I know we want to monitor idle time and fuel consumption. This gives me a report that I can look at each individual truck and see what it's doing. And you could say, well, you're idling too long. You need to move your route a little bit faster. Inspections, you can set it up for like a DOT pre-trip to check, tread depth and signals and all that stuff. We do that now, but we do it with paper copies. This would be electronic, where you could use a smartphone or a tablet and just do that on a daily basis, and then you could query it later. And then the telematics, it can tell you the particular vehicle, its battery life, coolant temperature, available fuel. It even works for EVs. So if you wanted to check an EV and see how much battery life was on the EV, you could do that. And it does have recording of high definition video, and that's stored in the cloud, so you can always query this. If there's an accident, at least with the forward ones, you're able to see what's going on. If somebody doesn't put their trash out, you can go query the system, or if they say you broke their card or something of that nature. If you did go with the camera on the back or the side, they showed us one that was a side loader that was in Pennsylvania, and you can see clearly, the truck picking up the trash and dumping it and hauling it away. And then lastly, you can set up, geofences, which would be limiting you on your range. Like if you said it's not supposed to exceed arbitrarily like 75 miles outside of Brentwood or 50 or whatever, you can do that. And then if it did go beyond that limit, then it would send an alert to whoever you wanted it to go to. Just to point out, these are $45 per month per unit versus right now we're paying $29.95. So they are a little bit more expensive. And again, I only wanted to try it out for the trash just to see how that goes, just because more expensive vehicles, it's interacting with the public every single day versus like, say, a plow truck, maybe it's just during the plow season and ordinarily it's not out there that much after that. So if these look good, then I thought, well, maybe we'll just do the 4, sanitation trucks. But once we get some information, we can bring it back and then show you like what it can do, because we could log in and show you what it's done.
Does it give you any information on each stop? For instance, everybody's got trash. Not everybody recycles. Not everybody puts out yard waste all year long. But can it give you some type of feedback on, as the year goes on, how many stops we're doing for these things to see, frankly, if this is something we needed to be doing weekly as far as
Yeah, I don't know.
cycling?
Well, we
or-
can ask him if he can filter. I know you can see the live stream video, or you can watch it later. You could just fast forward through it if you wanted to see a particular street. I was interested, like if somebody says their street was missed, was it really missed, or did no one put it out because there was a holiday or something, And if you tell us it was missed, we're just gonna do a ticket, or if you do a ticket, we'll go out there.
I'm fine as a trial basis. I have some issues with the big brotherness of, like, one of the city's most beloved employees is a trash truck driver, and if he was scolded because he spent too long talking to the residents of
Right.
this city, everyone who lives here who knows him would be really upset. So, like,
We would not use it for that.
I mean,
It's-
that
it's-
piece
It
of
has
it
the
is
capability,
just,
yeah.
and they're gonna idle, especially, they're really gonna idle, like, on the days when it's only one driver.
Yeah.
So some of it, I think some of the technical stuff is great, I think that are some really good, valuable things, but to be watching our employees at this level, I don't think any of us want a camera on us all day long in our offices or in our cars, and so there's a part of
So,
it.
this comes from, so we're not the first one to try it, and I understand what you're saying, but I just came back from the International City County Management Association, and Republic has been doing this for a couple of years now in California and Arizona. So I think, and it costs a lot of money to do so, and ultimately, they say they're committed to doing it and they expect ultimately to roll it out. So we're just trying to catch up, so to speak, and see how it can benefit us, particularly. I wish there was a way to do it for all areas of our service, because workers' compensation continues to be a high cost for the city. And then when you go back and try to troubleshoot the source of that injury, you arrive at the fact that it was just common sense mistake that either leads to you being out for a significant time, and we are seeing an increase in that, particularly in sanitation. So hopefully, if they're aware that we now have it, maybe they make better judgment when they go out, but certainly not to say you're spending too long visiting with members of the community, because they are beloved and we want them to engage with the community. So it would
They're our
not
face.
be.
They're our city. They don't know anybody who works at City Hall unless maybe some of the,
Yeah,
but that's who
They know them, I know.
I would echo that. I'm a little bit hesitant on the level of Big Brother for the size of the organization. I mean, Republic is a huge organization. I would hope in a smaller kind of community like this, you know who your people are, you hire good people, and train them and manage them. Like you
Time you don't want to be naive about it either.
right. Like I understand the safety and like kind of the protection for the city for compliance and litigation, but also if you have know that they always buckle their seatbelts. I don't know. I guess I understand the pilot, so I'm okay looking at a pilot, but I'm not like a full throater like, oh, this sounds amazing. I'm kind of echo Alderwoman Tice's like, this is.
And maybe is it tailorable to, so you don't have the facial recognition, or you don't?
You can.
know the employee or whatever that, but still collect the data on.
Yeah, we would have to actually input that, like, I would actually have to, like, once somebody enters it, then I would say, well, that's so-and-so, and then I would program it, and then it would always recognize it, but if you don't program it, it doesn't know it. You know, I'm more interested in, like, the forward-looking camera, because if somebody says, well, you hit my car, it's like, how am I gonna refute that? It's like,
That part I'm
big
much,
vehicle.
yeah, I would be much more comfortable front camera,
Yeah.
rear camera.
yeah, because we've used the GPS before where somebody said, well, you hit my son in Brentwood Boulevard. It's like, well, the truck wasn't even there. We query it, and you can do the little vapor trail and show that it wasn't even there at the time you're reporting it. It's like, well, maybe they hit somebody else. I don't know, but I know it wasn't me. I can rule that out.
Slow this down and bring back some changes. Ask the question if some of the features that Dan talks about
Yeah.
can be deactivated or not used.
Yeah, if you don't even use it, you're not even going to know. But you could at least look at the forward, and the telematics is what we were mostly interested in, because from a maintenance standpoint, as soon as something fouls out, we would like to know so that we can immediately, put in a ticket and assign that to the mechanic. And maybe it's something minor too, maybe it's just a low pressure on the tire, and at least we know, but then we'll go fill it up.
I mean, if you're comfortable that you don't have to turn on all these features and you do the front and rear camera and
Yeah.
the features that monitor the vehicle, then I would certainly feel comfortable with the trial. I think having a camera on someone the entirety in the cab is something that would need further discussion for us to understand the need for that, or for me to understand the need for that.
Right.
Direction?
Yeah, we'll go ahead and take the 2 units, connect them, and, we can bring it back to you and show you what it can actually do. If it's worth pursuing, like I said, you would at least use it for sanitation. I could see you using it maybe for some of the plow trucks, just, again, to cover ourselves in case somebody says, well, your plow blade hit my parked car. It's like, well, did it? Person's concentrated on the road. It's possible the snow pushed off the blade and hit it, and then you'd at least have concrete evidence. Okay.
And last thing is your holiday trash pickup schedule?
Yeah, this came about, some of the folks with the trash department had asked us, do we have to do yard waste every week? And the short answer is no. The county ordinance, you have to do weekly recycling and weekly trash collections, but not yard waste. We do weekly yard waste. So we looked at the schedule and how that could possibly be applied. If you look at the 25 schedule, for example, if there's a Monday holiday, like just arbitrarily picking, Martin Luther King Day was January 20th, a Monday of this year. We used the regular services of Monday through Friday, which did include a yard waste, which there's very little yard waste in January on a Wednesday. So the question became, well, would you just apply it to some of those holidays early in the year? And we thought, well, what if you just applied it all the time? Like, there's no yard waste when there's a holiday. So that's how we came up with the 26 list. So, for example, Veterans Day, for next year is a Wednesday, November 11th. You wouldn't do yard waste at all on that Wednesday. You would do your regular services for Monday and Tuesday, no yard waste on that Wednesday, and then your regular services again on Thursday and Friday. So the sanitation crew would actually have that Wednesday truly off, versus the way it is now is they'll typically work on that holiday, whether it's a Monday. The only one off would be like Thanksgiving, since City Hall is closed Thursday and Friday, and they wouldn't work. The dump's closed. So I listed like the days that the dump is actually closed, which would be like New Year's Day, Memorial Day, Independence Day, Labor Day, Thanksgiving Day, Christmas Day. So for Thanksgiving Day, again, there'd be nothing collected on Thursday. Because Wednesday is a yard waste day, we would just take the Thursday service, move it up to the Wednesday, and then they would come in and have to work that Friday, even though the rest of us are off. But changing it to this actually does a couple different things, as I pointed out. If we work a Saturday, none of us is here. Different vendors are closed. If we work a Monday, sometimes vendors are closed, and then the regular sanitation people are working, but Public Works isn't there, so I don't have a mechanic on duty. So whether I work Monday or Saturday, when there's a holiday, it's still detrimental to them in case there's a problem. If they break down, then we really just have to call Terry's Towing and can't diagnose anything until we get back to work. So that's some of the things we tried to tackle with this change. I know it's a re-education, the folks in the community that are used to it the way it was in '25, this is gonna be a learning curve. We'll have to make sure we put a lot of information on social media if we go with this. But just wanted to bring it to everyone's attention. If we wanted to change this, we could.
I think it's great.
Yeah, and it gives them more family time, whenever they're truly off.
Well, it doesn't require a board approval, does it?
I don't believe so, it's just a policy.
Aye.
Okay, yeah, and I'll clean this up. I'll give it to Michelle Boyer and we'll publish it like we usually do, which is in December for the next year.
Thanks, Dan.
Okay, thanks.
Last item is citizen comment. I don't think anybody's left here, so anybody online? All right, well then I will adjourn this meeting.